Hello, and a warm welcome to the Aline with Aline podcast series. I'm absolutely delighted to introduce you to the wonderful J.D Hunt. J.D is an actor on screen, on stage, and TV, and he has very kindly come on today to share some wise words of wisdom and to share his stories and experiences and hopefully inspire many of you out there. Thank you so much for being here, my lovely.
No, thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure. And
Oh.
after we met, just to kind of reconnect here is so cute as well.
Yeah, it's amazing. Thank you. So I'd like to ask you about your passion for acting.
Hmm.
So have you always had that? When did it start? Did you know from a young age, or please tell us your story?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this yesterday, and I like I genuinely think that it is always something that I've wanted to do. Like since I was a child. I mean, one of my favorite stories about myself, I have so many obviously, is my mom used to, when she wanted a nap, she'd be like, "Come and tell me a story." And she said that she'd like go to the chair and she'd lie down and I'd start telling her a story, and she'd wake up and I'd still be telling the story.
Fantastic.
And I think that like I've always just really enjoyed like storytelling and creating characters and just that whole kind of experience of communication
Mm,
is something that I've always just really enjoyed. And like, sort of my journey took, like, I started in primary school, doing school plays and loving them. I had quite an advanced reading age as well, so I usually got the larger parts, if not the lead, in the school plays
of
because
course.
I was quite an advanced reader, so I was able to read and learn the lines. And it kind of got to this point, and I noticed I was doing it where I knew everyone's lines, and I'd be like prompting people on stage, and like, in the year four, like, Diwali play where I was playing the lead, I'd be like prompting everybody as the show was going. And
Brilliant.
that kind of passion and enjoyment just sort of metastasized throughout school. And when
Mm,
I was in secondary school, I sort of because I went to a grammar school, had this kind of like, oh God, like I'm going to become terribly academic now. I'm going to have to like, I'm going to be less creative because it's all like, like maths and English and science. And um, the first school play that I had the opportunity to audition for, I don't know why, and I think when I look back on it, it probably was fear. I For some reason I couldn't confirm with my mom that I was okay to stay to audition for it. So in my
mm,
head, I was like, oh, she won't be okay with it, even though I was, taking myself home. So I went home and I was like, Mom, I really wanted to audition for the school play. It was Oliver Twist. Um, but I didn't want you to not know where I was. And she was like, but you bring yourself home. So you could have just done it and then come home. And I was like, oh,
right.
yeah. And when I look back on it, I think that actually I was just like, oh God, like I've gone from, going through, the school system to being like in year six, the eldest in the school plays, like, sort of like to then in year seven where I'm like the youngest. And, this is a school play. So,
Mm.
the eldest people in it will be like 15, 17, 18, and I'm like 11.
I was going to say,
Like,
so year 6 and 7, that's 11, is it? Okay, thank
yeah,
you.
so year six is like 10 to 11, and then I think year seven is like 11 to 12.
Okay.
And I think that's what it was. I think I was just a bit like, oh, I don't know if I can do this now. Like, I want to be an actor, but I don't know if I want to do it like in this space, like in this,
Mm,
incredibly like academic kind of. And I think the experience of grammar school is very intimidating in the sense that, I remember my granddad saying, if you become a doctor, I'll buy you a car. Just being like, oh God, I don't think I want to be a doctor, but I do want the car. Um, how do I get the car? Um, so I missed the audition for that, and I'd sort of been doing the drama classes that were part of the curriculum anyway. So I went to the drama teacher and I was like, I really wanted to audition, but I couldn't ask my mom if I could stay and audition.
mm.
So like, can I audition like any
Now?
time? She was like, well, no, but she was like, but I've seen you in classes and I know what you can do. So I'm gonna give you. So she gave me the part of like Pie Man in Oliver Twist. And she was like, "This is the rehearsal schedule. Make sure that your mom's happy with it. Come along." And basically, through rehearsing, I went from being the Pie Man who had like two lines,
Mm.
playing Charlie Bates, who was like Oliver Twist's like bestie and understudying Oliver Twist, and it was kind of like bizarre, and everybody that was in the show kind of like sneered a bit at the fact that I was like sort of like amassing roles having not auditioned like as the rehearsal process went. And I think that for me that was the moment where I was like, no, I can do this. I have value, and
Mm.
like that's been seen even though I haven't auditioned for this show. Um, and from there, I was like, I want to do this. And then my school actually cancelled drama as a subject, and I went to the deputy head, and I was like, well, I want to be an actor, and you're cancelling drama, and like after school, I see myself going to like I didn't know it was called drama school then, but the
Mm.
equivalent of drama school, like how do I do that if you cancel drama? Like how do I go to college? How do I go to university and study like drama? And basically through Gifted and Talented with the school, they connected me with the Birmingham School of Acting, where my drama teacher at the time wrote me a reference for, and it was really quite lovely, and something that I'm sort of working through giving back when it comes to doing that, because the Gifted and Talented program actually paid for my drama classes. They were like, I think they were £320 a term.
Gosh.
And they paid for it.
Wow.
For my mum paid £20 a term, and they paid the rest of it.
That's
And
incredible.
I sort of got there, and again, I was like, oh my god, like I'm doing this now. I'm doing drama classes on a Saturday morning, and I'll be doing like an equivalent of like GCSEs and A levels, and yeah, I'm doing this. And I sort of remember being there, and because I started off doing a summer course, and I hadn't met everybody. I hadn't met the head of part-time courses, David Van, who became my mentor. And I remember speaking to him in the foyer. I was 13 by the time I got there, and the classes were 11 to 13, and then it was 14 to 17. And he said to me, after doing the summer, he was like, "You'll be joining the 14 to 17s," and I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, you
Well.
yeah." And he's like, "You'll be joining the 14 to 17s." And I was like, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I'm ready." And he was like, "You're more than ready." And I just remember
Fantastic.
being like, "Oh my God, this man believes in me. He sees something in me. Like I just want to be an actor, but um, here I am." And they had a Gifted and Talented program as well, which I ended up a part of. And as it sort of went along, my school got to a point where they were like, we can't afford to send you there anymore, because it went up. I think it ended up being like around about £400 a term by the time I finished,
Mm.
and that was from 13 to 18. I went there, and the head of part-time courses, I remember him just saying to me, David Van, he was a wonderful man, and when he passed, I remember being in a theatre full of people that he'd just touched,
Mm.
with his light and his
Mm.
passion and his belief. And
Mm.
he just said to me, he was like, "Don't worry about the money." Um, and as I was talking to people, it turned out that so many of us had had similar conversations with him, where he was like, this is not about, a commerce. It's about passion. And if you've got the passion and you've got the talent, come, you're turning up every Saturday.
Mm. Yeah, wow.
And it was incredible. and
Mm.
and I remember just being like, well, yeah, I want to do this, and like nothing's going to stop me, but I don't have that money. um and through doing that, like I really just found that inner belief and found that like passion, and just thought, what, I can make a career of this, and I can be happy doing
Mm.
it. And when I'm at school and I'm doing my subjects, like I'm good at it. I don't enjoy them. Any opportunity I get, I'll do a presentation, or I'll like write a sketch or something like
Mm.
that. But it doesn't. it doesn't ignite anything in me in the way that, I lived for those Saturday mornings. It was like 9 till 1 or 10 till 1, and it was just the best, the most beautiful time. Like, just like playing and acting and doing scenes and doing plays. And I stayed like literally as long as I could there until I went to drama school. And it just introduced me to so many like great texts and characters. And you know I had fun. And at no point did it feel like a chore. I Even when I got to the point where I was like, I'm studying 6 days a week, and then I'm going from drama classes at 1 p.m. to my part-time job, which I do on a Saturday from like 1:30, and then I work all day Sunday, and then I work a couple of evenings in the week whilst doing school. And I was just like, I just lived for it. And when it came to drama school, and I my teachers were like, do history, do psychology, do this, and I was like, no, I'm going to do an acting degree.
Mm.
And if it doesn't work out and I don't get into drama school, then I'll do a psychology degree, and I'll join the drama clubs, and I'll go back and I'll do an acting degree. And it did. And the funny thing is that I applied for drama school, and again I came back to Gifted and Talented because it's like between 30 and 50 pounds per audition, plus traveling to London or Bristol or Cardiff, or where else did I apply? I think it was Manchester. So it was like £50 for a ticket and £30 to £50 for an audition. And I
Mm.
remember the gentleman who ran Gifted and Talented, and I've been trying to think of his name for the last 2 days. I know his first name was Phil, and I don't remember what his last name was. And I remember him just being like, keep all of your receipts, and we will pay. He was like, we couldn't pay for you to do the drama classes, and we couldn't pay for. I mean, I think they paid for my equivalent exams to do the GCSE equivalent and the A level
Mm.
equivalent, because I kept saying, this is what I want to do, and I'm here, and I'm in this system, and I can't do it now, and you have to fix that. Because I was so headstrong. I was like, you have to fix that. I have to become an actor. Um, and and yeah, they paid for all my auditions, and I was on my way. And just sort of like such a long explanation for a short question. But
No, no, no. It's your
that,
story. And that's
yeah,
what's so beautiful, that you had people that, I mean, obviously, it's so much about self-belief, but you had those mentors around you
yeah.
nurturing you. That's just
hmm
beautiful.
It is
So
beautiful.
beautiful.
And to that, what I'd say, and what I've been working on, sort of giving back in a sense of, is like,
Mm.
I don't know if we can teach ourselves to self-believe. I think some people have that innately, and I've always had a confidence. But I think that, what I would say is, David Van, God rest his soul, he taught me self-belief. He taught me to believe in myself. And I saw him do it with so many people. And I've gotten to a point now where I'm like, I I want to do that for people. I want to see that in people, and actually, like, let them know that actually, you never see yourself in the way that other people see you.
Mm.
And it only takes someone to be like, I believe in you, this is what you're doing right, this is how we channel you. And it can change your life. It can keep you on a track that, maybe you wouldn't have kept yourself on, or your family, or, people around you would have said, get a real job, or, be
Yeah.
sensible, or it's never going to work out. I remember, like, in English class in year 7, actually, like, writing, we all wrote down, what we were going to do in our lives and our jobs and our careers. And I remember, like, being really embarrassed and writing down, I'm going to be an actor, and I'm going to do movies, and I'm going to do plays, and I might even, like, go to Hollywood and do movies there. And I just want to go as far as, like, the acting will take me. And I remember a kid reading it and laughing and just being like, you're never going to do that. And I was like, I am going to do it.
Brilliant.
Um, and, sometimes I think about that, and I'm like, yeah, I say it along with that, little 11-year-old boy, like, I am going to do it. I
Mm.
am going to keep doing it.
Mm.
I am going to do this audition, do this self tape, and book this job, and, you know, go to this networking party, and, like learn a new skill or an accent, or I'm
Mm.
gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
Fantastic. Because you said at the beginning about, if you become a doctor, then I'll get you a car.
Yeah, never got the
So
car, but
but that conviction, that it's so wonderful that you
mm,
had that just to keep pushing through.
yeah,
What advice would you give to anybody? Because I mean, obviously you had so much support around you. Is there any advice you would give to anybody who is very much feels how you feel? They know that's what they want to do, but they don't have that support.
yeah,
But they know deep, deep, deep down and all through their system, that's why they're here. What would
yeah.
you say? What would you say?
I'd say, keep looking for avenues that lead you to roads, that lead you to, you know, bigger roads and take you there. There's there we by virtue of just, being in 2023, that, there's online courses, there's meditations, there's books, there's so many ways to actually chase what you want to do in life.
Mm,
We talk about like having mobile phones, like you've got the internet in your hands, and there's so many ways to find courses and find classes, even if you start off with a little part-time course or a little Amdram group, or like something that actually enables you to remind yourself that it's what you want to do and you can do it. And if you're the first person telling yourself you can't do it, then then how do you get to the point where other people tell you you can?
mm,
You have
mm,
to tell yourself first that you can,
mm.
and then let other people tell you that you can, and believe them. you know
Yes. Yeah.
is what I'd say to that. And I think that, what I'm constantly saying to myself is, you can do this, you will do this.
You can.
um
Very much so.
yeah, keep creating these opportunities, keep following threads, keep experiencing. And I think that the other side of, what I was saying about, what David said to me about it not being about the commerce of things and paying for things, and that's not always something that everybody's as lucky to go through. But
Mm,
I think that, I didn't have the resources, from my background and my family to actually say, I want to go and do it. I'm going to find the money. But what I said to myself was, when I can, get a job, I'm going to get a job. And if I have to pay for myself to go to classes, I will,
mm,
and I think that there is something in that about actually saying, how much is it worth to chase the dream,
mm,
and not in the sense of saying go and, pay for an expensive course, but there are some things that are incredibly affordable, that you can do just to get some experience, get a little bit of a skill,
mm,
and equally there are some things that you can do where, you just give your time. You join an Amdram society
mm.
and you give up your time. You don't have to pay to do that, but
Have
you're
fun.
working
Yeah.
on plays, on shows
Mm,
with creatives, and they'll inspire you, and you'll learn, from each other.
mm,
And the beautiful thing about this industry is, you work with somebody who's been an actor for, you know 15 minutes, and you're like, oh my god, you're just a natural, and you just take to this, and I'm learning something from you. And you work with people that have done it for 15 years, and you're like, you went to drama school, and you've worked in all the biggest theaters, and you've worked on shows, and I'm learning from you. And
mm,
even if you go and you see, or work with people that you don't think are good or great or incredible, as much as people that are good and great and incredible, you learn from them and you assimilate, and there's just an osmosis there. So I think
mm.
what I would say is,
Absorb
expose
everything
yourself.
around you. Mm,
Yeah, expose
mm,
yourself to as much creativity as you can. Watch things that inspire you. Go to the theater. Watch like TV shows that people are acclaiming the performances of. And just be inspired. Find inspiration wherever it lives, because it's everywhere.
mm. Yeah, thank you. That's really, really gorgeous advice. Thank you. And also, so let's say, okay, so the people, so they're going to the Amdram, they're getting more and more experience, and then they get an audition.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first audition? And I don't mean, well, you didn't go to Oliver Twist, but
Yeah, I didn't.
But do you remember your first?
I remember so many of them,
Yeah.
and I remember what I remember that I try and keep alive now is I was so bold as as a young person, and I would do accents that like I just heard, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna give that a go,
Fantastic.
um, and I would I was really confident, and I always wanted to be remembered. And not to say that I've bagged every audition that I've done. I've had some auditions that have gone horribly.
I'm going to ask you about in a moment, actually.
Yeah.
It's all
I
right.
mean, like, but what I remember is I always remember being like, okay, I'm gonna make sure I know my lines. I'm gonna make sure that I know what I'm doing, and I'm just gonna do it, and nothing else matters in that moment. And I think probably the first audition that I remember feeling intimidated in, and the reason that I felt intimidated was because I'd had experience as an actor, and I'd had experience like auditioning for like Gifted and Talented at the Birmingham School of Acting, and
Mm,
I'd experienced auditioning for shows, and I at that level I hadn't not gotten many things I'd auditioned for, which was a gift and a curse. Before I auditioned for drama school, I'd done like a short film. I'd done a TV pilot. I'd done a ton of plays in like decent theatres in Birmingham where I'm from,
mm,
and my first like professional audition was at RADA for their BA acting course, and I remember just being like, oh my god, I'm going to audition for like one of the most prestigious drama schools in the country, in the world perhaps, in London. I'm going to London for the first time by myself on a train. I have got my little printed out um, route from Google that tells me what to do, and I've got to leave at this time, and I'm going to get there at this time. And I got to the train station, and all the trains were cancelled, and I had to go from a different train station. Um, and so I was supposed to go from one, and I went to the other, which took me into a different train station in London. And I was like, oh my God, I only know how to get from that train station to RADA. And in my head, because I was young and this made no sense at the time, I was like, so I need to work out on the tube how I get from that train station to the train station I was supposed to come into, and then from there I can get to RADA. Didn't think actually I just need to work out how to get from that train station to RADA, but I was thinking about my audition
yeah.
pieces and
Mm,
getting into drama school and becoming an actor, and I got to RADA and I was so late, and I was the last person to go in for my audition that day. I think there were maybe 3 people left there. And I walked into the room, and the lady on the panel just slapped her motorcycle helmet on the desk. And I just remember being like, she's ready to leave. She rides the motorcycle. And I did my pieces, and like I was so sort of like not centered from the day, because
mm,
I was
mm,
like, and I was thinking like I don't even know how I'm going to get home because I've got to go back to a different
mm,
station, and it was all things that were so like
mm,
crazy. And I
mm.
just remember that motorcycle helmet like landing on the table and just being like, I didn't get into RADA like before I even started.
Oh,
um and I did the audition, and then I
mm,
thought I did a good job,
mm.
but in my head I was like, she didn't want to see what
Mindset.
I had to do,
Mm,
because she was ready to go home because she put a motorcycle helmet on the table. um and then I saw her as I was outside, like sort of trying to work out where I was going, walking with a
mm.
motorcycle helmet to her bike. And I remember just being like, oh, I kept her there, and she was angry, and she slapped her motorcycle helmet down, and I haven't gotten into there. But you know what? I've got another 9 schools to audition for, and I'm going to get into one of them. And
Absolutely.
I got into 3 of them.
Of course you
So,
did.
yeah, so
Brilliant.
and even to that, I would say like it sounds easy, but I didn't get into the one I wanted to get into, and I went to one that I didn't want to get into. I didn't want to go to particularly, but I was sort of caught up in that I want to be an actor. I want to do it now,
Mm,
and I actually ended up leaving that school first term of second year, and I was like, I know where I'm supposed to go, and I remember everyone just being like, this is crazy. You're in second year of drama school, like what? and just being like, you're leaving in December, you're gonna have to wait till September, till drama school starts again. And I was like, no, I'm leaving now because I can audition and I can get into where I want to go, or a school I want to go to that
Mm,
I feel passionate and inspired
mm.
about. Because I wasn't feeling passionate and inspired where I was feeling uh, so many things that weren't I'm en route to becoming an actor.
Didn't
I was
feel
caught up
aligned.
in
Yeah.
the hierarchy and the politics, and there was racism, and there was
Mm.
sexism, and there was all these things that I was like, I don't want to focus on that. I just want to be an actor, and I want to be told what I'm doing well and told what I'm not doing well, and I want to do better than the last time I did it, and I
And
want
feel
to
the
feel
joy of
inspired.
creativity. Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah. No, no,
Yeah.
no. I know it's so
Mm,
true. Um, and I remember, I mean, another I remember story, but I did my submissions. I went back to the Birmingham School of Acting and did part-time courses on a Tuesday night. Um, and I was like, I'm gonna go back. And I remember saying to David, I was like, I'm going back. I'm auditioning. I quit drama school, and he was just like, what? And I was like, I've quit drama school. I'm back. And I was like, I'm gonna go back. And and I auditioned, and he helped me with my pieces again, and he didn't charge me, which
mm,
again I'm so lucky for. Um, and I picked new pieces this time, and pieces that fit me a little better than they did the first time. And I remember being on set of a movie actually, um, and it was the first feature film I'd ever worked on. Which people were like, you'll never do that. You'll never work like having walked out of drama school. And here I am on set of this feature film, and my mom called me and she said, "You've got a letter from Italia Conti," and I was like, "Oh, that was the school I really wanted to go to." And
yeah.
I was like, "Open it," and she opened it, and she's like, "You've got a place." And I was like, oh my God, I'm going back to drama school. I made this like incredible gamble on myself, and walked away from a scholarship that I had at a drama school, to like re-auditioning to 6 drama schools, having done like a year and a term of study, and gone through this whole like process of like believing in myself and having that belief broken down, and then not believing in myself and like worrying that I couldn't become an actor, and throwing myself back out into the industry and just being like, um you know I can be an actor because that's
Mm,
what I want to do. I just can't be an actor here.
mm.
And getting back into drama school and going and doing it all again, and you know like one thing that I'm forever thankful for, and I don't take this for granted. And every time that I get in a rut about not working or feeling like, oh, when's my next job coming? Uh, since I graduated, well, since before I graduated, I've worked consistently every year, whether it's been a theatre job, a film
Mm,
job, a
mm,
commercial, at least one job. I mean, sometimes it's been 5 or 6, or there's been presenting gigs, but what I've done is I've found a momentum that's kept going,
mm.
and different ways to be an actor, and
Yeah.
that's so important, I think, and something that I constantly remind myself, of
Mm,
how lucky I am. This year I got to 10 years since but what I call my first professional acting job, that was on ITV,
mm.
and I'm like, I'm so lucky, so lucky. And yes, I am lucky, but also, I've worked for it. I've worked for it, and I've
Yeah,
persevered, and
that's
I've kept
exactly what I was just
saying,
about to say.
yeah, yeah,
You applied yourself to the nth
yeah,
degree. You've persevered, you've been consistent. And just going back to your story about leaving the place that didn't feel right for you, that's amazing. Just
hmm,
really following your truth and just,
yeah,
this doesn't feel right for me. This is where I got goosebumps. this
mm,
this does not feel right for me. This does. And just knowing that
yeah,
power of knowing, that's
yeah,
wonderful. That's
hmm,
massively inspiring. And
yeah.
there's your book.
Right, honestly. And I like look back on myself, and I think like there's so much I'd say to myself like back then, but also
Mm,
like thank
mm,
you to that young man who was just so confident and so like determined, because he's the reason I am like where I am now. And I think as much as I say, like, somebody has to teach you how to be self-confident, but you also have to remind yourself that it's what you want to do, and there are so many ways to do it. And for every time that you have that little voice in your head saying, I can't do this, I'm going to fail, I'm not going to get this job, I'm going to mess this audition up, I'm too tall, I'm too short, I'm too fat, I'm too thin. Like, you have to talk back to those voices, and you have to say, actually, you're you. And if you've gotten an audition, or you've gotten asked to do something, or you've gotten given an opportunity, someone believes to a greater or lesser degree that you can do it. And you have to say to yourself, you can do it. There's a world, there's a place, and there's a time where maybe you are doing it.
Mm.
But the
Mm.
only way you're going to get there is by telling that little voice, to shut up, or asking that voice, is that practical? Is that realistic? Is that true?
Are
And
you scared? Yeah.
yeah, are you
Yeah.
scared? Are you?
I'm
Is
here
it
to
actually
protect
rational?
you. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
something that I've grown to think about when it comes to auditions is not booking the job, but making an impression. But
Enjoying the experience.
yeah,
Yeah.
enjoying the experience, and just showing people that, like, I'm an actor, and
Mm.
this is what I do. And maybe this job, or this role, or this opportunity isn't right for me, or it isn't meant for me, but actually I'm meant to be in this room. I'm meant to show you that I'm an actor, and of that, I'm creating, and I'm fostering, and I'm filling out an opportunity
Mm.
that those
Being
people,
seen.
that, yeah,
Yeah.
when you go in and audition for something, that's not the only thing you'll ever audition for, or the only thing you'll ever audition for that person. They're constantly thinking about things, and I get calls and I get emails all the time.
Mm.
Like, whether it's from my agent, or it's directly from a director or a producer, or
Mm.
whatever, being like, we saw you for this thing, we'd love to see you again for this thing, or
Mm.
um and people that have seen me do things, do shows, or do TV, that say, oh, like, I remember you doing that, it was really lovely, it touched me, it moved me. Like, it's about just enjoying it, and remembering that it's a singular moment, but it lives forever in
Really
you
beautiful.
know just as much as a job does, an audition does, an opportunity does, a conversation does. It lives forever because people remember it, and memories outlast us all.
Mm.
Impressions outlast us all. And now we're in this digital age. The movies will outlast us all, and the TV will outlast us all. And you know those little you know when you do a show for the first time, and you end up getting printed in the play text, and that's written down, that lives forever. And one day someone opens that book and they go, who's J.D Hunt? um or they watch something I've done, and they're like, oh my God.
Recognize him. Yeah.
Yeah, and as much as, like, it's wonderful, and it's a goal, and it's things to aspire to, but if you're telling a story to one person, or you're telling it to 100,000 people, the beautiful thing about acting is the storytelling, and the experience,
Mm.
and
Mm.
the sharing of 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 humanity,
Mm.
and life, and experience. And that's that's why I'm doing it. We've all had the, oh my God, I'm going to be so famous, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. But actually, what's kept me going, and wanting to do it, and passionate, is the storytelling. And you know like, for example, like, little anecdote. I
Love
was
an
recently, yeah, I was recently doing, like, one of my side hustle jobs, and I was working at a food festival, sampling vegan meat, and this woman just went, "I know you," and I was like, "Hi." Because because my first thought is, oh my God, like, have we met before and I've forgotten who you are?
Mm. What's
So
your name? What's your
I,
name?
yeah, I always like, will pretend, or go along with it. And she said, she's like, so we at that moment in time, we were in North London, and she said, you were in Rice and Peas, at the Queen's Theatre in Hornchurch, which is in Essex, which is like east of East London. And I said, yeah. And she said, you were really good, I remember you, it was such a good play. And I just remember, like, being so touched, like, because in that moment when I was, giving her some vegan pea protein, pulled pork, she remembered actually, this is where I know you from, I remember you
You
in
made
that
an
theatre
impression.
space,
Yeah.
yeah, telling that story,
Mm,
which was a beautiful story, that I felt so lucky to tell, and that's what I kind of think about as my legacy and my goal as an actor, to keep telling great stories, and
mm,
not so that people will come up to me and be like, "You're amazing," and I remember you, but so that people are moved and they're
mm,
experiencing other cultures and other
mm,
stories and other experiences and things that like make them think about life and the world they move through.
mm,
And for me, that's my aspiration as an actor, to keep telling stories and to keep doing things, and reaching levels of fame and acclaim mean that you have greater opportunities to do that, and a wider audience. But what I want to do is I want to keep you know, inspiring, little boys like myself that, you know, it sounds silly to say, but, I remember watching like Michael Jackson and Mariah Carey music videos, like, and just being like, wow, this is so incredible. Like, this is like a show. Like, I remember vividly Mariah Carey's Heartbreaker video, where she goes to the movie, and her boyfriend's there with another woman, and they have that little cat fight in the toilet, and she comes back, and I remember like the Billie Jean music video where the floor's lighting up, and I just remember being like feeling entertained, and
Feeling
feeling
moved.
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they were like such, like, and I don't think they would like, light or silly. And when you look at, like, for
Mm,
example, like Mariah Carey as a storyteller, like, like how she wrote, her first marriage and the frustration, and the abuse she went through, and how she turned that into, music that will live forever. And
mm,
the videos that went with it. I remember the Honey music video where she dives into that ocean and she swims away, and like, like finding out that that was, metaphor of her escaping from a marriage to a man who ran a record label that she felt suffocated by,
mm,
you know, is the power of,
mm,
doing what we do. That, and not that I'm saying that, Mariah Carey is an actor that, wants to do that, but it's the medium of storytelling, and the medium of
mm.
like entertainment and experience, and how, there are people that, just connect with music and theater and film and
Absolutely.
art, and
Yeah.
it moves them, it helps them through things, and it teaches them about the world. And I think that that's incredible. I think it's incredible. And I think that I am so lucky, in 2023, as an actor who has a playing age of 20 to 28, but, may or may not be older, but that I'm able to like to do
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
and
Well,
just, able to tell stories. And I look back on some of the jobs I've done, and some of the work that I've had
excuse
the
me,
privilege of
this fly.
doing. The fly's out to get you. um, but I think about some of the things that I've done and the conversations I've had with people about them. 2017 was one of my favorite years as an actor. I did um I did a commercial for Ministry of Sound that was just like, fun and light and exciting. And I was
Joyous.
like, and it was on TV, and people were calling me and tagging me in things, and like, and weirdly, like, it was literally a commercial, like, where it was just mouths and they were singing songs, and people actually were like, I've seen your mouth on TV. And I was like, what? And I remember, like I was working in Harrods at the time, and I remember a client messaging me and being like, "My wife said that she saw your mouth on TV," and I was like, "Yeah." And then, like, I went on and I did a commercial for Lloyd's Bank, which was in collaboration with Macmillan, the cancer charity,
Oh,
about
lovely.
how Macmillan staff train um, Lloyd's Bank staff to deal with and to look after customers who have cancer.
Mm.
And I remember just like auditioning for it and just being like, because I'm the child of a cancer survivor. and just going into it and being like, oh my God, I can bring this to it, but it's a commercial. It's like 30 seconds. Like, I'm not going to be able to like like tell my story playing a hairdresser in a hair salon, giving a cancer survivor a wig. And I remember going in and just just kind of building this character that, like really just felt for this woman that had lost her
Mm.
hair, because she had cancer, and just wanting to give her a moment of joy with this wig that he was giving her. And it was so weird because I'd auditioned, and when I talk about, auditioning being an opportunity, the commercial was cast by Hammond Cox, who are, like a massive casting agency, and they called my agent, and my agent called me, and before I'd auditioned for it, and he said, "What have you done? Hammond Cox really want to see you for this commercial." And I said, "Oh, I auditioned for a Swedish energy commercial for them like last year, and it was really bizarre, and I never got it." And he was like, "They really want to see you, so make sure that you're available for this audition." And I was like, "Well, I mean, I'm never not going to be available for an audition, but yeah, sure,
I'm
okay."
always available.
Always available. And I went in and I did this audition, and I thought about what I could bring to it, and my Oscar-winning moment of being this hairdresser that was giving this wig, and and I took a walk away from. I walked from that audition just into central London to get my train back, and my agent called me, and he said, they penciled you for the commercial within 20 minutes. And I was like, what? And he's like, I actually remember I took my mom with me to that audition because she was in town at the time. And I took her with me, and I remember walking in, and there was literally every shape and size of human that you could have thought of. And I was like, oh, so they really don't have a plan for who they want to play this role of hairdresser.
Mm.
And I'd sort of worn this kind of peach jumper that I had that just felt like something a hairdresser would wear. And I got penciled for it, and then I got recalled, and I went back in, and they said, oh, you're gonna go in with two out of the three women that were considering for the female part. And there was another guy there, and they said, oh, you're going with one of them, are you okay with that, and are you okay to go in with two of them? And I was like, yeah, sure. And went in and did my thing, and then I left, and again I walked across central London, and for some reason, I don't know what the reason was, but my phone didn't have a signal. I might have gotten the tube, maybe that's the truth of the story, I don't remember. And I came I looked at my phone, and I had all these missed calls from my agent. So I called back, and my agent's assistant was like, are you still in central London? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, go back to the studio right
Around.
now. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm going. And I got back, and they're like, oh, we want you to go in with the third lady that we're considering. And I was
Mm.
like, oh my God, this is so weird, because I went in, and they were like, 40 people maybe, and now there's two of us, and I'm going in with all three of these women. And I got that commercial, and
Mm.
it was such a beautiful commercial.
Mm.
And you never think that about commercials. Actors rarely say that about commercials, because they're usually something light and fun, and you get
That's
like
heartfelt, though. That's
yeah,
really beautiful.
yeah. It was
And
a
it seems
really
like fate. I'm a huge believer. I'm a huge believer. So, for example, there was a reason the trains went wrong for RADA. That wasn't the place for you,
it
you
wasn't
know. And there's a
yeah
reason that they saw you in the Swedish energy commercial. And yeah, I think it's so
yeah.
beautiful. I've
And
got goosebumps again.
so I'm doing. I'm just. I've got goosebumps as well, and I just thinking about these things, and how I went into that audition. I was like, this is so ridiculous. The Swedish Energy commercial one. I'm
Mm.
literally drawing symbols with my fingers, and I don't know what's going on, and it was so silly. And I remember emailing my agent, and I was like, that was ridiculous. And he was just like, welcome to the world of commercial casting. And I was like, oh, okay, and then to come into something that was so meaningful.
Mm.
And that year, after I did that, I did a play at the Young Vic Theatre in London, and it was again, it was just an incredible show. And by virtue of the fact that this commercial came out, I think in the July, and the show opened in the October, November, so the two things kind of overlapped. And
Mm,
this play was called The Suppliant Women, and it was basically like the third oldest play, and it's the oldest record of democracy and what we now know democracy as now. And the story is basically that these women are supposed to be married to their cousins, and they don't want to marry their cousins, so they flee and they go and they seek sanctuary in Greece. And the king of Greece, doesn't want to take these women in because he knows that their cousins are going to come and get them.
mm,
And he says to the women, like, if we take you in, it means war, but if we give you back to them, you'll be raped, you'll be murdered, it's death. Like, how do we
mm,
reconcile the conscience of this?
mm,
And the women, they just want shelter, they want safety, they want autonomy. And that, they're fleeing from these men, and the men come to get them, and the king puts it to a vote of the people, and the people vote to take the women in, and to keep them. And it means war, and it means that Greece will be destroyed, but they flee from Egypt. And at that time there was all this discourse about refugees, and 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 the autonomy of women, and and sexual assault, and forced marriage. And I'm just like, here I am in this year of 2017, lucky enough to have done this play. And now I'm like thinking, yeah, to have done this play and done this commercial, and these two things mean so much to so many people.
mm,
And there were people coming up to me in the theater, and like, my son said that he saw you in this commercial, and he cried when he saw that commercial.
mm,
And then we're doing this play, with this amazing cast of people that have
mm,
taken this play from like Manchester to London, and then they went to East Asia, to tell this story. And I remember like just pinching myself and just being like, I'm an actor. I'm telling stories that mean things to people. And one of them's a commercial, and I just always thought commercials were like big paydays. And
mm.
one of them's a play in like an incredible theatre in London, and I never thought I'd be here. I was there 2 years in a row, and I was just like, what does this mean for my life and my career? And
Because you
what
deserve it, my lovely. That's why.
and what it means is that
It's a
um
privilege. Did it? You
yeah,
felt like that was, yeah.
you
To
know I've on so many levels I've been trusted to tell these stories, and I've been
mm,
able to help tell them, and I've not told them by myself. It's been a community, a
mm.
force of people that have been telling these stories. And it inspires me to write and to want to tell my own stories that I can, you know
Where I'm coming
bring
to.
to yeah, that I can bring to life with people.
Yeah,
And
because you're a
it's
writer as well, aren't you?
I yeah, I do write. So I'm currently putting the finishing touches. I'm not putting the finishing touches. I'm redrafting a feature film and a comedy. And
Wow.
um I'm going to start getting things into production, because again, I've got stories in me that I want to tell. And I want to tell other people's stories. I want to tell my own stories, and I want to
Mm,
tell stories to people that look like me. And I want to, I just want to be in every room where it happens, to quote, Hamilton.
yeah.
And I just want to just keep doing it forever.
Mm.
And I don't take that for granted ever.
And you tell your story so beautifully as well. It's a privilege to speak to you anyway, and it makes so much sense because you're such an incredibly gorgeous shining light for you to
Stop it.
be.
Thank
Don't you'll
you.
set me up for you to be in in that commercial, for you to be telling the story of democracy. It makes so much sense,
Mm,
and it's your humility. That's what I feel with you. It's your humility.
definitely.
You're not chasing fame, and I
No,
can see you being famous, but I don't really think it matters.
and it doesn't. And
It's
and I think that's such an important thing to remember, like, to actors at any point coming into it, like fame doesn't mean anything, you
Mm,
know? It doesn't. It's an intangible thing that you chase, you know? If you wanna be famous, go on reality TV, you know?
mm.
You can do it
Famous for
in
5 minutes. Yeah,
15, 5 to 15 minutes, but
yeah.
what what this industry or this career is about is storytelling. And not everybody in it is in it to storytell, and not everybody, will do that and will want that, but that's that's the beauty of it. And when you meet people that wanna do that, or you work with people that wanna do that, like,
Mm,
it just sets the world on fire. And that sounds like such a cliche to say, but, you know, like, waking up is a joy. Going to, that theater or that set is a joy. Like, you know, watching the finished thing is a joy. Like, and um, you won't always have the privilege of doing that.
mm.
I've done some things that I'm just like, but you just remember that it's not your story. You are a vessel for it, good or bad, and you know that, like, it's a stepping
This
stone. That proves
experience.
something. Yeah, you never know who's gonna watch it, who's gonna see
Mm,
you doing that, who's gonna remember that, what it's gonna mean for you to say that actually, I'm doing this thing, and what's the next thing, Where does
yeah.
this grow? What does this become?
Because what I keep going back to is that incredible mentor that you had, because you've it feels like you've just followed his legacy through, and you're creating that, and your core value, and again I'm getting goosebumps, but your core value is the joy of creativity and the
Yeah.
joy of storytelling, and that's beautiful. That
Mm,
is so incredibly beautiful.
yeah. And, I have so much to thank David for, David Van, an incredible person. And, one of the things that he said to me, and I had this written in a draft in my phone for so long, was make it matter.
Mm,
He said to me, I want you to write this down, and I want you to remember this, and I want you to take it with you wherever you go. Make it matter, whatever you're doing. And I think it's a life mantra, but it's also, it's also like such an important thing, to actors and to acting and to storytelling, like, is to make it matter, is to think about the mark that you're leaving on, a person, a place, the world. Like, what does this mean? What does
mm,
this mean to
mm.
do this, to say this, to tell this story, to be this character, you know to be in front of these people, make it matter. And that's just a beautiful piece of advice, and it's
Is
not mine, it's David's.
it's so beautiful, and I think that's a really beautiful place to end as well. Make it matter. It's like,
Mm,
don't count the days, make the days count. It's,
yeah,
I love that, make it matter. And like you said, as a life mantra, that's, I
yeah.
was going to ask you, do you have any final words of wisdom? But I think that sums it up
Well, I
really.
mean, it's a wonderful one, and to that I would also say as well, keep keep going
Mm,
forward,
mm,
keep chasing, whether it's acting or it's anything, like, keep chasing that dream and chasing happiness, because
mm,
if it makes you happy,
mm,
then it's worth doing. It's worth exploring. It's worth giving a chance, giving time to, giving money to, within reason.
mm,
It's worth the investment of time, of self, of belief, because it will pay off. The universe will pay you in some way, shape, or form. Even if it's just at the end of a day, a show, a film, whatever it is, saying, I did that. You know, I proved to myself, I proved to this person, I
mm.
proved to that person, that I wasn't going to give up, and that I kept going. Like, keep going, keep finding those avenues, keep finding those roads, keep being curious. Keep chasing and believing, and make it matter.
And the universe listens.
It does. It does listen,
Yeah.
and you never know where, any place you go is going to lead you.
Mm. Absolutely gorgeous. Speaking of any place, where can people find you? I'm going to share all of your all of your social media so people can follow you.
Thank you. Well,
Like,
yeah, I mean, I'm always living in the world of social media because we have to do that, as
yeah.
actors and brands. But currently, I'm in a show on Channel 5, in the UK, which is on the
Mhm.
My5 catch-up service, called
Okay.
"Embarrassing Sex Story of the Year." We talk about the legacy of storytelling and you know great things, and then we have "Embarrassing Sex Story of the Year," which
That's life. It's a
yeah,
story
it's a
as
top
well.
10. Yeah, it's a top 10 countdown of Britain's most embarrassing sex stories, and it's
Okay.
told through comic reconstructions.
Hmm.
Um, and it's an interesting time. I was in 5 of those sketches. No, sorry, I was in 4 of those sketches, and 3 of them made it to the final cut. So that's in the universe.
My
And
cat's
I'm
curious. He's
also
just come in to see what that's all about.
it's a treat. It's a treat. It's one of those things that I'm like, sometimes you have to do an embarrassing sex story of the year, and sometimes you do the suppliant women. Life doesn't always give you things in balance. Similarly, I'm also on Amazon Prime. In episode 1 of a show called Patterns. The first episode is called Reverse Catfish. Um, it's
Reverse catfish.
Reverse Catfish. So I pop up in episode 1 of that, and that
Wonderful.
is um
Is that now? Is it on now?
yeah, it came on Amazon Prime earlier this year, and it's still there as well. So those are the things that I'm in now, and
Fantastic.
I mean, other than that, I'm just really excited for whatever comes next.
Yeah, and I know there's so much for you, so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, and I'm excited for what comes next. I'm excited to see what the next thing is, the next play, movie, TV show, whatever it is, commercial maybe.
And
Um,
your story as well that you're writing, your
yeah,
screenplay.
yeah. I'm gonna get them out there. It's got to happen. So I'm saying it now. I'm saying it on the Aline with Aline podcast. It's
Yeah.
gonna happen.
Yes.
Um, so look out for those. And I sort of I'm going to my plan is to keep my social media, my websites up to date with what I'm doing.
Mm.
And who knows? Who knows where I'll be next? But it'll be somewhere fun.
And I
It'll
think
be
that
somewhere.
it's the joy of non-expectation as well that you have. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So I wish you all the love and all the luck in the world, my lovely. Not that you need it because you're amazing, amazing, amazing.
Thank you, and thank you so much for having me as well. Like it's honestly a privilege and
Oh,
beautiful
it's
just to
my
kind of
privilege.
come
Oh,
and talk to you and talk about me and to me that just
I
sounds
could
like
listen
that.
to you for hours.
No, we love it. We love it though, and just to be able to hopefully inspire someone, and
Mm.
similarly, if anybody has any questions off the back of this, or you have any questions, like send me a message, send me an email,
Oh,
little form
thank
on my
you.
website, or drop me a message on social media. I wanna give people advice and help, and I want acting to be an industry where people feel like there's a community and we are all pulling each other up and walking together. And I sometimes think about, like, would I be where I am if it wasn't for Carol Aubrey, who was my secondary school drama teacher, that sent me in all these directions, and then there was David Van, who believed in me, and there was Joe Foley, who was at Birmingham School of Acting and believed in me, and Cindy Millerchip, who believed in me, and Rhea Richardson, and like all these people that just inspired me and introduced me to things and people and techniques, and sent me on this journey. And had I have not met them and been inspired by them, like, would I be here right now? Maybe. But my point is that I don't ever want to have acting feel like an industry where people can't
Mm.
ask for advice and
Mm.
feel supported and inspired, and feel like doors are being opened and are open. So that's what I try and do. I try and mentor other actors, and help people with auditions, for drama school and for things. And I coach on We Audition as well, which again is another beautiful opportunity to just give back and
Mm.
bring other actors forward with me, and it's all reciprocal, and it's all just the way that it should be and the way that the world should be, that we should create opportunities and we should give people the benefit of our experience and our wisdom and our knowledge. And I hope that that's, what I'm doing here and what I
Mm.
can continue to do. So
Beautiful, because there's so much of this competitive attitude, isn't there? It doesn't have to be that way.
it
And I
doesn't, and
feel that we're going so much towards the divine feminine, and everything that you've just said, I love. Gorgeous.
thank you. But yeah, I did want to say as well, like, please ask me questions,
Mm,
like ask me for advice. If I can give it, I will. If I can give you my time, I will. I won't always be able to, but as much as I can, I will, and I will point
really
people,
kind.
in directions of places and people and things, and
I will
yeah.
make sure all the information goes in the comments underneath, so everybody can get in touch with you, my lovely. So thank you so much, so
Yeah.
much.
I look forward to, like, speaking again soon, and just
Absolutely, I'd love that. So
thank you. And
thank
I'll
you.
go on.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you again so much. I'm going to say thank you, thank you. Can't say it.
Thank you.
I'm going to put all JD's information there, because as he's kindly said, you can get in touch, which is incredibly generous. And I really hope this has inspired. Thank you to JD for his beautiful, beautiful heart and generous spirit. And I really hope if this just reaches one person who has got that passion, and just listening to JD, I really hope that really helps you just go, do you know what? I've got this. I'm going to make it matter.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh, I got goosebumps again.
Same. Oh,
So much love. I'm going to finish it now. Thank you so
send it
much.
right back.
Mwah, mwah,
Thank
mwah.
you.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful rest of the day.
Have a gorgeous rest of the day, my lovely.